Hi everyone. This is going to be a fairly quick video, but I wanted to quickly go over two video cards in my collection that I want to do some further testing with, and yeah, just to sort of explain why I've got them and what's cool about them. So the first card here is a Rage Fury Maxx. So this was ATI's first dual GPU video card. Which is basically two Rage 128 Pros slapped together with some software drivers to try and do some alternate frame rendering to increase the performance. Now this card has a very known issue where it will only work in Windows 98. It won't work in NT-based operating systems. But when it does work, it can scale quite well. And can perform quite well, but it was not a successful card, and was really not well received, and really didn't last very long. Now the reason I've got it is that dual GPU video cards definitely interest me, and it's the first dual video card from ATI, now AMD. So yeah, cool card. Really looking forward to testing this one out. They're getting definitely hard to come by. I picked this up many years ago. Still was not cheap at the time, but definitely worth testing and holding on to it. The next card is probably even rarer. Now this is a Voodoo 5, 5500, but as you can see, it actually has an AGP 4X slot on it, which is what makes it unique. Now that unfortunately doesn't mean that it actually works on a 1.5 volt 4X AGP slot. It still only works on a AGP 2X slot, but it is a slightly modified version. The PCB is a little longer than the standard original Voodoo 5, and yet it does have that different slot on it. Now, some people originally thought that this was like an engineering sample or something like that, but my understanding is this is an OEM card that was in maybe Compaq or something like that. And so definitely an interesting card. I don't know why 3DFX bothered releasing this to OEMs. I suppose it was slightly cheaper to manufacture because the PCB wasn't as long, but I don't know why they would put a 4X AGP slot on it when it still can only do 2X AGP. So interesting card, and I don't expect it to perform any better or worse than a normal Voodoo 5, but it's in really good condition, and I got this one for like crazy cheap. And look, it was still known to be a rarish card when I purchased it, but I think it probably purchased it for about 200 Australian dollars. It would have been probably 10 years ago now, whereas you'd be spending probably 3 times that. Well, maybe not quite, maybe $400 or $500 for an equivalent normal Voodoo 5. And this one is definitely quite rare, so I wouldn't be surprised if this one would go for, potentially close to $1,000 now. I'm not sure if that's how much it would be worth. I don't think it functionally is worth that money, because it doesn't actually offer anything that the normal Voodoo 5 can't do, but I think it's a very interesting card that it exists, and anything that is 3DFX has value attached to it. So I'm really glad that I was able to pick this one up, because yeah, 3DFX stuff is getting so hard to get at any reasonable sort of amount of money. Obviously like a Voodoo 5 6000 one day, but they're just totally out of the price range. But this card is probably getting up there with the second most rare card, other than some of the the unreleased, I think what they're called, the Spectre and the Rampage and that kind of stuff, and maybe the Voodoo 4 with the VSA 101 or DDR RAM. That's probably rarer, and this one was probably semi-mass produced, because I think it was actually put in computers, but yeah, no, look, a really interesting card, and very much glad to have it in this condition as well. So yeah, two interesting video cards that I plan to do further testing in future, but glad to have both of them. They're both unique, interesting cards. Thanks. Bye.